Howdy, my fellow 8th graders. Thank you for watching this video so that you can make some adjustments to your Unit 4 test to increase our grade to a 70% or above. So we're going to look here at number 1. Make sure as you're looking at your own test, you're making the necessary adjustments to make sure that you have all the correct answers. So we're starting right here with number 1 where it says select all the equations that are equivalent to the equation that's given to us. Now, if you look here, we have 2x plus 6 equals x minus 4. I know when I'm looking at these options, I'm noticing that in letter A, I'm seeing a lot of the same numbers that are given to us in the original problem. So if I were to solve this problem, I know I'd want my variables on both sides. When I do this, I end up getting x plus 6 equals negative 4. And now this identically matches letter A. I'm looking at letter B here, and I'm noticing that my variables stay the same, but I'm noticing that my constants are no longer there. And when I'm looking at my constants here, I'm seeing that if I were to subtract 6 onto both sides, I would get negative 10. And I don't see that matching option B. When I look at option C, I see that I have to distribute here. And when I properly distribute here, I now see an equation that matches the original equation given to us. So we have two answers. And now when I look at answer D, the reason why I didn't choose answer D is because this number here and here, if I go from 6 to 3, I divide by 2. If I go from negative 4 to negative 2, I divide by 2. But the problem is pertaining to the coefficients. They did not change. So that does not represent a equivalent equation, okay? Now we're moving on to number 2. So make those necessary adjustments. We're looking at number 2. Number 2 says we're going to solve this equation and we're going to show all of our work. So this step-by-step process here might help you see where you made your mistake. And we'll go ahead and rewrite that on our paper to make sure we make those necessary adjustments. So the first step I hope you all did was that you needed to distribute. So I multiplied 2 times x, which is 2x, 2 times 4, which is 8. Now we have 3x minus 12 equals 2x plus 8. And I'm going to go ahead and there's many possible next steps, but I always like to make sure my variable is on the same side of the equation. And since I had a positive 2x, that's why I'm subtracting by 2x to eliminate them on the right side of the equation. Now I'm left with x minus 12 equals 8. Same idea, we're going to continue on and get our constants on the same side of the equation. So I add by 12, since I had that minus 12 there. Some of us might have made a mistake there. And 12 plus 8 gives me x to equal 20. Perfect. Make sure your work matches what you see here so you can get full credit there. On to number 3. Ooh, another fun equation. Now with this equation, I have the same idea. I see parentheses with a number outside of it. And this time it is a fraction, but the same thing I have to do is distribute it. And hey, we know fractions sometimes can be challenging for us, so why don't we make our life easier? And let's change that fraction into the decimal. So in your calculator, divide 1 divided by 4, and I'll get 0.25 as its decimal. So now I can use that calculator to properly distribute to the numbers in the parentheses. So the left side of my equation stays the same. When I do 1/4 times 8x, or 0.25 times 8x, I get 2x. And then I have to do 0.25 times negative 16, which gives me negative 4. All right, we're back in action. Same steps as last time. Get your variables on the same side. Since it's positive 2, I'm subtracting 2x on both sides. I now have 4x minus 7 equals negative 4. From there, what we're going to do is, just like we did in the last one, we're going to go ahead and make sure our constants are on the same side. This time I have a -7 here and the -4, and I want to move that -7 away by adding 7 to both sides. When I do -4 plus 7, I get 3. So now I have here 4x equaling 3. Final step, divide by the 4. And we see here x equals 0.75. Awesome. Perfect. Let's move on to number 4. Let me go ahead and erase what I have there. Perfect. Erase that. So it gets out of our way a little bit. Awesome. Okay, number 4. Number 4 says, I am going to see what is the solution to the system of equations shown on the graph. Explain how you can tell from the graph. I know when I have one solution, I know my 2 lines in my system will intersect at one point. And look right there, they are intersecting at one point. And I know my ordered pair is always x, y. Notice my x right here, and my y values are right there. So I now know it intersects at 2, 3, and explain how do I know what the intersection or what the point is I'm literally telling you right now. It is where the system intersects. That's my solution. Awesome. Moving on to number 5. Number 5. Perfect. Ooh, speaking of systems, it's asking, is 3, -4 a solution for this system? Now, we know there's 2 different ways I can solve this. There's the long way, which is totally fine, and then there's the short way. The long way would be simply solving a system like we know, and to double check if it matches the solution as 3, -4. I like the short way. My favorite way is to use these numbers, and we said in the last problem that the first number is my x, the second number is my y. Substitute those in to see if you gather true statements for both equations, then you have a solution to the system. So I know my y, we'll say my y right here is -4. So I'm going to put -4, then I'm going to continue writing, equals 2 times the x minus 10. So let's have my x be this color right here, which is 3. I go ahead and now multiply the right side of my equation. 2 times 3 is 6. 6 minus 10 gives me that -4. So the first equation creates a true statement. Let's go ahead and double check with our next equation. My next equation asks us to start with y again, which is -4. Then I know it says equals negative x plus 1. And we know our x. Let's get that color about right. Slide it on over a little bit. Perfect. And our x is 3. So now I have to do my calculator, -3 plus 1. Uh-oh. When I type that in my calculator, I do not get -4. I get -2. So -4 does not equal 2. So I know this solution, this ordered pair is not a solution. Not a solution. Perfect. Moving on to the next problem. Thank you for staying with us and making sure that you have all the right answers. Oh, I love this type of problem. Draw a line to match to each system of equations with the number of solutions for your system. All right, so let's look here at this first one. Y equals 3x plus 1 and y equals -3x minus 7. Biggest thing I notice is right here. I have a -3, +3. So that tells me they have different slopes. If they have different slopes, I automatically know this will give me one solution where they intersect at one point. Perfect. Now moving on to the next one here, I see I have x plus y equals 10 and 2x plus 2y equals 20. If I were to multiply this entire equation by 2, I know x times 2 is 2x, 2 times y is 2y, and 2 times 10 is 20. I now see that those two equations are equivalent to each other, and they can be made so they look identical to each other. And if I know the slope is the same, the y-intercepts are the same, I know I have infinitely many solutions. Okay, obviously, last but not least, we know that my last system is going with no solution because we have different y-intercepts, but we have the big thing right here. We have same slope. That's how we know it has no solution. Perfect. Moving on to number 7. Ooh, I'm running out of room here. Let's go ahead and clear everything out here. Pause. Okay, I've cleared everything out. And now we can see here we're on number 7. And number 7 says, Andre and Elena are each saving money. Andre starts with $50 in his savings account and adds $10 per week. We have to write an equation representing Andre's savings after X weeks. We always know when we write an equation, in the slope-intercept form, my M represents the rate, while my B represents the start. So if we're looking at what's given to us, it says right here that Andre starts with $50 and adds $10 per week. We now know that 10x represents the rate, because that's how much he's adding every week, and $50 represents how much he starts with. From here, I go on to part B. It says the amount of money Elena saved is shown by the line in the graph below. After how many weeks will Andre and Elena have the same amount of money in their savings account? Explain or show your reasoning. So let's use the graph to help explain. Like we said, Andre started with $50 in his account. So I'm going to go ahead and mark 50 on the y-axis because that's where I started at. Every week, he's adding $10. So from 50, I went up to 60, and I went to 1 there. 1 week. 2 weeks, he'd have $70. 3 weeks, he would have $80. 4 weeks, he would have $90. 5 weeks, he would have $100. Perfect. I'm going to connect those points. I hope you're using a ruler. Mine's not too bad for no ruler. And we see here, we have to go back to the question. The question asked, after how many weeks will Elena and Andre have the same amount of money in their savings? We want to know where they intersect. And when I'm looking at my graph, we can see they're intersecting at this point right about here. And when I look closely, I notice they intersect at 4 weeks. And that's telling me that at 4 weeks, both Andre and Elena have $90. Perfect. Nice. All right. That was number 7. On to number 8. Let me just clear everything out again. Perfect. All right. So it says 2 pizza companies have different pricings. We have Tony's Pizza, which says $12 for a large pizza plus $2 per topping. Maria's Pizza, $8 for a large pizza plus $3 per topping. We have to write a system of equations to represent the total costs for each pizza. Use X for the number of toppings and Y for the total costs. All right, so I'm going to make my new equations here. And just like we did in the last one, remember, we had M is your rate and B is your start. So if I think about this, I see the $2 represents the cost per a topping, which is my rate. So that must mean $12 base fee or start fee for that pizza for Tony's Pizza. My other equation from Maria's Pizza Place, I see once again $3 per a topping, and then we start with that fee for that large pizza of $8. So those are my two equations. Now it asks us on part B to solve the system to find when both pizzas cost the same amount. If I want to know when they cost the same amount, I want to know what x is equal to when I set my system up by setting both equations equal to each other. Because if they're equal to each other, that will tell me how many toppings it will be when they have the same amount of money. Or same cost, sorry, pay the same. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract 3x from both sides. When I go ahead and subtract 3x from both sides, let me give myself a little more room. Perfect. We see here, I cross off here, and I get negative 1x plus 12 equals 8. From here, we'll go ahead and subtract 12 from both sides. And we have now, get a new color here. Perfect. Negative 1x equals negative 4. We divide by negative 1, giving myself a little more room. Divide by negative 1. And now we know x is equal to 4, which tells us that it takes 4 toppings for them to be paying the same amount at Tony's Pizza and Maria's Pizza. Okay. Ooh, last page. Of course, I'm not going to go over the extra credit because that was just an opportunity for you to gain some extra points. But I'm going to go ahead and look here at number 9. Number 9 is solving a system of equations, which we just did on the last problem, just it's set up a little bit differently. This time, we're going to substitute this expression in for the y value in the first equation. So we have 3x plus 4, substituting in that negative 1/2 x plus 8, and then we know it equals 36. Starting off, distributing, and now you have 3x, don't forget about that one, plus a negative 2x plus 32 equals 36. Now from here, I'm going to combine my like terms, which gives me x, because 3 minus 2 is 1, so that's just x, plus 32 equals 36. Moving down for my last few steps. What I have to do is I have to subtract by 32. And we get x to equal 4. You know the drill. That's only half of your solution because we know when we're doing a system, we have to find an ordered pair. So let's go ahead and record that down so we don't forget. So half of our solution is 4, and that's my x value. And I'm going to use that and the bottom equation to help me figure out what y is equal to. So we got the y is equal to, I'm going to just squiggle here so I have some more room, negative 1/2 x plus 8. We know what x is. We know x has to be 4. So I'm going to go ahead and type in my calculator, negative 1/2 times 4, which gives me that negative 2, plus 8 gives me 6. And there you have it. There is your system of equation solution. Well done. Thank you for going through all your answers. If you need to go back to make sure all your mistakes have been corrected, please do so. Have a wonderful day. Thank you very much.